Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for watching. Tonight, a decision from the SIU on a fatal shooting here in Windsor. Plus, the town of Lakeshore is making it more difficult to build large-scale greenhouses. Some leaders want an outright ban. Naloxone mandatory in high-risk workplaces. That's a new rule in Ontario kicking in by June. And new skaters hit the ice in Windsor as the city shuts down Charles Clark Square permanently. A police officer who shot and killed a man who was threatening strangers with a machete in downtown Windsor will not face criminal charges. The province's police watchdog has completed its report. It took place in the downtown core 4 months ago. And the CBC's Jason Vio joins us live from where this all happened. Jason.
Well, here at the intersection of Olette and Wyandotte is where Alan Ankild spent some of his final moments. He was holding a machete when he was here, and we learned today that he actually called 911 on himself. The 70-year-old man was shot by police here, and he later died. I did speak with his nephew today over the phone. He didn't want to do a recorded interview, but said he did review the SIU's findings and did think the SIU did a thorough investigation. He also says the officers and Windsor Police were put in a complicated, tenuous position responding to this call, and he believes they acted in good faith on August 15th at around 3 in the afternoon.
And what more do we know about what happened that day?
Well, on that busy Monday afternoon here in downtown Windsor, Alan Ankild had a machete that he bought from a nearby store. And the SIU says he was threatening people with that machete. The investigation found several people called 911, including Ankild himself. And that's when he said he was contemplating suicide, according to the SIU. Police first arrived on scene riding bicycles. Officers asked him to drop the weapon. He did not. Ankild struck a vehicle with the machete that he was holding, and then an officer fired a taser, which they didn't do anything. The SIU says roughly 20 seconds passed from the time the officers got off their bikes to the time Ankild was shot. 11 civilian witnesses were interviewed as a part of the SIU investigation. The officer who shot the man didn't want to be interviewed or provide their notes, and the SIU says it's within their legal right to not answer those questions.
And what's the Windsor Police Service saying about this today?
Well, they're not saying very much. We did ask for an interview to get a better understanding about how they analyze these types of serious police encounters internally, whether anything was changed, if policies were changed because of what happened here, and how they would handle a similar situation if it were to occur in the future. Would it be any different? They sent us this statement instead. It says, the Windsor Police Service acknowledges and respects the Special Investigations Unit's decision. We continuously review our processes and practices so that we may better protect and serve our community. How they review those practices and what, if anything, has changed because of Alan Ankild's death, well, that remains unclear.
Thanks for this, Jason. CBC's Jason Vio live tonight. And if you or anyone you know needs mental health support, you can call the local 24-hour crisis line at 519-973-4435. You can also call Talk Suicide Canada at 1-833-456-4566, or you can text 45645. The town of Lakeshore has decided not to ban greenhouse operations. Instead, they're looking to add more regulations on those massive indoor farms. And as Dale Molnar reports, some residents understand the move, but still hope they don't come to their backyards.
Well, ultimately, I'd like to see no greenhouses.
Comber resident Chantel Meadows accepts council's decision, but she still has concerns if greenhouses come to her town.
How are they going to get the water? We already have a water issue in Stony Point and in Comber. We can't build any more houses, so how are the greenhouses going to get these things?
She was one of the residents who turned out to an information meeting last summer. Many were opposed to greenhouse operations. They had fears of light and air pollution, wear and tear on the roads, and where migrant farm workers are going to live.
The smell is a big issue for me personally. I don't want to smell that stuff. The light is a big issue, especially for those living in the farming communities. They could be right, 20 feet away from their homes.
Last night, Town Council had an option to ban them outright. Greenhouses haven't been allowed for 2 years because of a temporary bylaw. Many councillors wanted to forbid them, but they realized they would face legal challenges from the province. It's provincial policy that greenhouses are allowed in agricultural areas. So council went with an option to regulate them instead. That would force operators to provide extensive details about greenhouses that council must approve.
It's wise to put as many controls on as we possibly can to the 100th degree to really, really control them. Perhaps if we put enough of these in and they have to sign a site plan agreement and agree to that prior to getting a building permit, they may have second thoughts about coming here if there's zero light emissions, there's zero odor, all these type of things that we're concerned about and we've heard residents say.
Jill Miner had taken up a petition against the greenhouses. She wouldn't want one next to her house, but is satisfied with council's decision.
So I do feel that the council's made a great decision in that, they're not banning them, but they are asking for further bylaws to be created to be a little bit strict compared to and have the rules in place prior to the developments coming in.
The Ontario Greenhouse Vegetable Growers can't speak for the cannabis industry, but the executive director says their members will cooperate with the town. But he says the town may be missing out on economic development opportunities.
They bring an awful lot of very high paying jobs and just good futures for families and their children.
Mayor Tracy Bailey will be sending a letter to the province outlining the town's concerns with large-scale greenhouse developments. A spokesperson from the province tells CBC News they are monitoring the situation in Lakeshore and will continue to provide guidance and resources to both greenhouse operators and municipalities. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
The local healthcare system issued a warning about opioid overdoses this week. It's the 10th alert this year so far. And this week's happened after 11 opioid overdoses were reported between December 5th and the 11th. 6 of them involved fentanyl. There were also 12 drug-related EMS calls over the same window of time. This has been a growing issue in our region. In 2021, 86 people died to opioid overdoses that year, and that was a 21% increase from the year before. And the Ontario government says some high-risk businesses must have opioid antidotes and training to use them by June.
I know only a small minority of opioid-related deaths occur in workplaces, but I'll be damned if we don't do our part in helping save lives. And with more than 300,000 businesses across Ontario, by the end of the decade, I want every employer in our province to have one of these kits, just like they do a defibrillator.
Construction sites, bars, and restaurants. Last year, more than 2,800 people died from opioid-related causes in the province. Holiday parties are kicking off, and maybe you've been out trying to get what you need for the potluck, scrambling together supplies to bake something for your kids' final days of school. And if that's you, then you know prices at stores have changed. We priced out the big traditional Christmas meal to see what you might be forking out. That turkey, fresh or frozen, up by about 6.7% from last year. It's the biggest part of many holiday dinners, but actually saw the lowest increase. It's the trimmings that really put people in a tough spot. Vegetables and potatoes, those are up by about 11% this year, but it's bread prices rising the most. They're up 17% compared to last year, according to Stats Canada. We asked a chef that works at the Unemployed Help Center for his thoughts on making things cheaper. First, buy stuff that's in season. Buying asparagus for that holiday meal isn't going to be cheap, so try green beans instead. Stock up on those pantry staples when you see them on sale, especially canned goods like chicken or beef stocks. Another piece of advice: price matching. He says it's always good to shop around to make sure you're getting the most for your dollar. And we've got all those tips on our website at cbc.ca/Windsor. We also checked in on shelters to see what they're noticing. The Downtown Mission says donations are down. They're also noticing a common item you might have in your cupboard is like a brick of gold to the mission.
Prices have really gone up, and So that affects what we get through the door as donations because people have to focus on their own groceries. We aren't getting as many donations. We've seen our shelves get pretty empty.
Really? What's short? Everything? Tell me a bit.
Pretty well everything has been short. And the big items that because they're more costly, like cereal, is now like $5, $6, $7 a box. That's something like gold here, as well as peanut butter. So things like that children would use, snacks for school, those type of things are very low.
Yes, gift bags for Christmas.
While cereal is gold over at the Mission, time would help most at Street Help. Their kitchen hopes to put together 400 meals for people on Christmas and Boxing Day. They've also got a gift program in place for their families that use their services. But the biggest help? A pair of hands. They're calling on anyone with spare time on those days to pop in at their location on Wyandotte to help prepare meals. Hi, I'm Katerina Georgia.
And I'm Nav Nanwa.
And it is time for CBC Windsor's Sounds of the Season.
It's that one time a year where we all get together and we raise food donations for the Windsor Essex Food Bank Association.
We're also celebrating community and kindness. We've been sharing stories with you on TV, on radio, on web as well, about people taking care of people in our community.
This also includes 2 very special live shows which will be taking place this Thursday, December 15th, both on radio and TV.
Yeah, we'll have some live musicians, some prize giveaways.
And also at noon on Thursday, you'll have the opportunity to meet myself and Katerina here live at our studio on Riverside Drive, so we invite you to come join us.
Yeah, that's at 12 o'clock, so we'll have a chat, and we'd also love it if you bring some food donations that all go to local food banks.
You can register on our website at cbc.ca/Windsor by clicking the very special Sounds of the Season story on our homepage.
So in that article, you'll find a form. That's how you register.
I'm trying.
You got this.
Oh, well.
It's okay. It's got character.
It'll be better on Thursday.
And we will have local musician Willowbrook joining us here in studio tomorrow night at 6, so be sure to join us then. We've got a live look outside as we gear up for those strong winds that we've been warning you about. They're on the way tomorrow. Colette Kennedy will have your full weather forecast coming right up. The city has closed Charles Clark Square's skating rink permanently, saying too many leaks have meant it's not financially viable to keep running. But a new rink is being planned at the former City Hall site.
The rink has served the city well for a number of decades, but the discovery of the leaks has caused us to move in a new direction. We're hoping to look at operating the new rink as soon as possible. So I think, looking at only a minimal one-season closure was our initial timeline. That'll depend on a number of different factors.
With the closure of the downtown rink, All Saints Anglican Church still wanted to make sure that its skate lending program continued. It's partnered with the Downtown Windsor Community Collaborative, which is offering free lessons at the only city-run outdoor rink. Stacey Janzer was at Lansbury Park to catch all the new skaters take their first spins on the ice.
Guys over there, first-time skaters over here!
30 people signed up for the first of 8 free lessons, including twins Avery and Cassidy Seaman.
I'm really excited to go ice skating. I didn't fall. I only actually fell once. I'm really excited for. I feel like it's good to try ice skating every day, so you can develop being even better at ice skating.
Their mom Ashley volunteered to help teach the sport.
I feel like it's a great opportunity. I feel like they get to feel like they're a part of something. They get to learn things they wouldn't usually get an opportunity to do.
Alex Song with the DWCC says he's always looking for different activities that youth downtown may not have been exposed to.
And it puts them all on the same playing field. So when they can accomplish even small tasks like stepping on the ice without falling, we find that it builds their confidence and that they can really encourage and have a good time, even if it's something small, like standing on the ice.
Song worked with the young skaters who did their best. Many held onto the walls, others that fell tried and tried again. Even more seasoned skaters got to take a lap. Jamie Jardin brought his 7-year-old daughter Lily to give skating a try. He was thankful that the church still lent out skates and helmets and that the lessons were free.
Great, because you just borrow them and then you bring them back when you're done. Yeah.
So a rather expensive sport for free.
Everything. Yeah, the skates, the helmet, and the lessons. Yeah. Win-win, yeah.
Anyone interested in joining the Tuesday lessons must register with the DWCC. They plan to keep lessons going all winter long. Stacey Janzer, CBC News, Windsor.
Colette, it brought me so much joy watching that and seeing the little kiddos giving the ice a try for the very first time and really leaning into the cold weather.
Yeah, I love it too. It's so cute. And their center of gravity is lower, right? Yeah. So when they fall, for some of us, like myself, who's not great at skating, and the older you get, you get a little more afraid of some of those bumps and bruises that you might get. But really, really great to see that program. So hope folks get to sign up for that. All right, we have so much to talk about. The storm system moving into the province, not having as bad, I'll say, an impact on southwestern Ontario as what we'll be seeing elsewhere. But still, let me walk you through what we can anticipate. The temperature is currently above freezing. And generally, when we have a temperature above freezing, we're not talking wind chills. It has to be below. It has to be in the negatives. But still, I can give you an idea here in some of the areas where with these stronger winds, and these winds will be picking up. These are the gusts, so wind chills are based off sustained winds, but the forecast gusts are getting stronger through the overnight hours and carrying on into tomorrow, an east to southeasterly wind that we'll be talking about at times exceeding 70 or even 80 kilometers an hour, especially along the shores of Lake Huron a little further north before they get better tomorrow night. So we've got a period to deal with the winds. Dry conditions at the moment, just the cloud cover that's been changing up. We are, though, in a special weather statement, so be aware because of the changing conditions that we'll be seeing, the windy conditions and the chance of some mixing precipitation. Broadening the perspective, it is further off to the east and northeast where we get into this large area with the freezing rain warning. Now there's the risk in Sarnia, although the warning doesn't extend there, but pretty close by, Watford and over towards London, over to Hamilton, up through Owen Sound, the Bruce Peninsula, all have that risk of ice pellets or freezing rain. And then winter weather travel advisories and heavy snowfall further east. So not a day to be traveling away from southwestern Ontario. Better to kind of stay put, not get into all of that. It's mostly a rain event. There will be some mixing at times, but because of that temperature, especially as it continues to rise as we get into tomorrow morning, it's mostly rain, and then we'll see the temperature fall as we get into Thursday night and Friday, and we get into more of a mix or even a little bit of flurry activity, which kind of hangs in there off and on for a few days behind this system. But you see negligible amounts, a trace if nothing, back into southwestern Ontario, and then heavier amounts where there will be pockets, that darker blue, that will see more than 20 centimeters of snowfall with this one. There's that temperature really going to be coming up as we go into tomorrow. It keeps it in the liquid form mostly, and then we get into the flurries and the cooler air that is going to filter in behind this one, but in a sense dodging a bullet to some extent with some of the messy conditions that will be elsewhere not too far away.
Well, that's relatively good news, so thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
When we come back, as Parliament Hill takes a break, there might be trouble brewing. That's coming up. As Canadians turn toward holiday festivities, Parliament Hill is shutting down for the season as well. But it's not all calm and bright for the minority Liberal government. The stability they've enjoyed because of their confidence and supply agreement with the NDP may be headed for trouble. CBC's Rafi Bujikanian has more.
The Liberals bringing some holiday cheer to the last sitting of the year, while their political opponents warn they've got little to sing about. The Bloc Québécois says it could see plenty of paths to the polls next year, even if it doesn't want an election.
I'm certain that immigration will be a very, very important issue next year. And with immigration always comes the issue of the French language. I believe this will be a quite bumpy year, and at the end of it, there might be some bruises on this government.
Merry Christmas, everyone!
While the Conservative leader spent his speech to caucus still trying to get acquainted with Canadians.
And remember, our job is always to stand on the side of the common people, their paychecks, their savings, their homes, their country. My parents taught me that it didn't matter where I came from, it mattered where I was going.
But it's not the official opposition the Liberals are likely to be watching most closely. The NDP has been propping up Justin Trudeau's minority government with a confidence and supply agreement since last March. It's now threatening to pull that support over the Liberals refusing so far to increase healthcare spending to provinces and territories without strings attached, and Trudeau refusing so far to meet collectively with Canada's premiers about this.
We have a crisis in our healthcare system that is impacting children. Children are suffering. And the Prime Minister says that because of an impasse with the premiers, that he can't do anything.
The Prime Minister, though, declined to say whether he thinks his deal with the NDP is a gift that will keep on giving.
The reality is we're ambitious parties that are progressive in our values and trying to get things done for Canadians. And Canadians are facing a tough time. They've been facing a tough year. We work together on delivering dental benefits and rental supports that are going out today. We continue to work on meaningful things together.
Nothing would be automatically triggered should the deal evaporate, but the Liberals would lose some stability they've had in their minority governing position, meaning a return to finding consensus with different parties on a case-by-case basis. Rafi Bujikanian, CBC News, Ottawa.
It's crunch time for negotiations at COP15 to hammer out a deal to protect the world's ecosystems. But as high-level officials are arriving in Montreal to attend the international summit, there are fears talks are on the brink of breaking down. CBC's Jayla Bernstein reports.
A 750-year-old slice of nature driven across Canada as an emblem of blockades against old-growth logging on Vancouver Island.
It represents obviously the loss of biodiversity that we're facing in Canada, as well as loss of Indigenous culture.
The goal of the negotiations at the summit is to agree on a global plan to stop the unprecedented speed at which species are disappearing and create a more sustainable relationship between humans and nature. This is what negotiators are poring over. It's called the Post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework, and inside there are more than 20 goals that need to be ironed out. Let's have a look inside at just one example, like Target 3. This is the latest wording of Target 3 that's been shared with media, and this is what it looks like if we remove everything that's bracketed and undecided. This observer was in the room last night when talks hit an impasse. Developing nations walked out over financing.
They were very exasperated, their faces. You can actually see them like, this is enough kind of face. And then they started just tweeting each other, and then they spoke up. And they say that they cannot continue this conversation.
Funding isn't the only hurdle. There's a long list of sticking points, including how much of the world's land and oceans will be protected and how to hold countries accountable for their pledges.
1 million species, that is 1 out of 8, is at risk of becoming extinct in the next decades or so. So the situation is serious.
With government ministers joining talks tomorrow, the added political pressure is expected to help push through an agreement. Activists say waiting any longer to restore the balance with nature will be too late.
Action is needed immediately.
Jayla Bernstein, CBC News, Montreal.
And that is it for CBC Windsor News. We'll see you back here tomorrow night at 6 for our special Sounds of the Seasons program. We're really looking forward to it. Thanks for watching and have a great night.